And we are referring to a small key fob. I don't know if you can see it in here, but this is our finished product. And this, if you can see it, is cut and engraved on a piece of a clear acrylic, which is a plastic-like material used normally with laser cutters for multimedia projects. We are going to take you through the drawing procedure, but engineering process is not only the drawing as mentioned by Professor Tag earlier this morning. This is almost the last bit of it where you first decide what you want, what problem, and our problem today was to give you the feel of engineering, get you from the design, understand the concept, and then deal with some drawings. Just before we start, some housekeeping in here. Please make sure that your microphone is muted unless you want to talk. Feel free to raise your hand if you have a question, and that is right in the middle of the screen next to your controls. If you want to use the chat function, that is again next to the raise hand, show conversation, and I'm just going to say hi in that so you know where is it. Feel free to ask questions there, and we will be addressing all these. Great. So without further introductions, let me share my screen right now. I'm going to share the screen, and then let's get started. So first of all, I'll need to make sure that you have got access to the correct material. So from the handout, if you look at 11 a.m., there is 2 links there for the software. If you have not already done that, please do download it, follow the guides to install. It should be straightforward. The second thing which you will need is access to the rapid prototyping shared folder on OneDrive. I have sent a link for each and every one of you. If you have not got email, please drop us a message with your email address on the chat link or into the registration email, and we will make sure to add you. A note here, some of the email servers will take the verification code email to the spam folder, so make sure you check your spam folder. And if you sort that out and get into the design, you will see these 2 folders. There is the design upload, and here we are going to get your design uploaded when you are done with it. Ready design is the really fun bit of it. In engineering in general, sometimes you don't have to start things from scratch because there are others who have spent time and effort to design things, and this is a very good example of it. Just to show you quickly what to have here, there will be different folders arranged on the theme, but then at the end of it here, there is a compressed file which has all of them. This might make life easier if you want to download all of them, but if you are interested in just one, you can click on it and click download up there. In each one of these, there will be 2 files or 2 folders. One is for the DXF, which we are going to use in our design, and I'll show you how. The other one is a JPEG folder, and here you can see preview of that specific design. So here is one, for example. I'm in the Hertz folder, and this is 1, 2, and so on. So let's say you like this design. This is number 4. Then you will know that you will need to use a DXF number 4, and I will cover this again later. So let's get started. Inkscape is the software which we are going to use. If you have installed it or you have it already installed, you will have a shortcut on your desktop. Double click on it, and this will be your main screen. And here I'm going to go on a step-by-step into how to develop a design until you save it to share it with us, to cut it on the laser cutter, and hopefully you'll be able to watch it later this afternoon. I do understand things might be slower or faster for some of you, so feel free to interrupt, ask questions, and drop messages on the chat. I'm going to start with the key fob design, something like this one in here, ellipse form. So I'm going to start with this tool here on my left, and that is the circle or ellipse tool. Click once on that, and then get to any empty place on the screen and draw a circle, ellipse of any shape. It doesn't really matter because we are going to set all the dimensions next. So let's say I have done this. Now, a quick note, if you don't see the ellipse just like that, for example, if you have got a fully black circle or fully black ellipse, that's absolutely fine. I'm going to show you how to change that. So if that is the case for you, please make sure that the object is selected, and from the drop-down menus up there on Object, select Fill and Stroke. And here we got a few different options. Fill, you want to get that fill here from A, the bar, the moving sliding bar A, from 100, if it was black for you, or any other number, to 0. Or the R, G, B, and A, they should be 0. So all these values here on the right should be 0. And that means basically nothing. It's just like no fill or no background on that shape. We will need to go to the stroke paint, and we need to make sure that R, G, and B, they are all at 0, and only black at 100. And that is going to give me the black parameter around my shape. It will be good to make all this consistent, so let's change the style and make sure the width of it, let's say 0.5 millimeter. So I'm here on the stroke, and the width is 0.5 millimeter. All done, then you'll just need to close this dock here. So here we go. Take a minute to try this up. Use the ellipse tool. Draw an ellipse or a circle anywhere in the screen, and then let's work out the fills. If you have a problem at this stage, please do let us know. In order to zoom in and out, you can either change from your view here and zoom, or you can simply hit Control on your keyboard and use your mouse scroll to scroll in and out for zooming in and out. So I'm going to show another example quickly in here. Click on the circle, draw any shape. If there are issues with the fill, let's say you are getting it fully red, fully black, or any other way, make sure you go to Object, and from Fill and Stroke, set the following. For fill, we want nothing, so all these should read 0, or all the sliding bars all the way to the left. In Stroke Paint, R, G, and B are 0 and 100 for A to get fully black. And then for style, we can use 0.5 mm. Hit Enter, and that's it. Okay, so by now I'm assuming each one of you have a sort of a circle or ellipse in the screen. I got 2, so let me delete 1. If not, please let us know. Now we'll come to the step where we will need to change the size of it, because this was just random drawing. And a good size will be 80 by 30. How to set that? You make sure that you go to the Select tool, which is right on the left side toolbar, the second one, Select. You will need to double click on the object. Double click until you see Change here on the left, and then you have Rx, radius for X, and for Y. Before we change these, make sure that the units are millimeter. It is by default is millimeter. If not, please change it to millimeter. We are going to set X to 80 millimeter, and Y, which is the height of it, to 30. So 80 by 30 will result in something like that. I just want to remind you, if you are not talking, please mute your microphone. So 80 is on the x-axis, 30 on the y, and here we got our object. And if you want, you can click on it and move it around to where you want on the screen. So this is the external parameters of our key fob, just like the sample which I have shown you. Now the design which goes inside, that will be personalized by you. But we're still missing a part to have a proper key fob in here, right? What do you think we need? A key fob, so we'll need a key ring to go through, right? So yeah, we will need to basically have a hole in there. And that is basically by drawing another circle. Now, again, we will come back and set the size and the location of this as I'll show you next. Okay, so here we go. I will need to have this hole to be set to 5 by 5. Okay, now the location stays there. So in order to set the location, of course, we can move it around, but we know we need things to be a bit precise. We are doing engineering here. So let's select all by holding and dragging your mouse pointer, or alternatively with the keyboard, you can use Control and A to select everything, Control and A. From there, we are going to come to Object, and we are going to look into Align and Distribute. So after selecting all, you will need to select what you want basically to align. So both objects need to be selected. So again, select all by hold and drag your mouse pointer over all the objects, or using Control and A. Use the object, and then Align and Distribute. And here we got the sub menu of Align and Distribute, which has lots of options to allow you to do lots of alignment. By the way, Inkscape is really cool, a software to do anything related to drawing and conversion of drawings to different formats. So I think you will enjoy it if you use it for other stuff as well. So the first thing I want to do is align everything on the center horizontal axis. I want that circle to be really at the middle of this. One click, it was almost there, so you barely see it moving, but it's now at the middle. Now I want to get it to the side, and here we go, align left edge. And I click that, and it's really at the edge, and that is perfect, perfectly aligned in the middle and the left side of it. Okay, so we got something came up on the chart. Let me check it out. And that is how to adjust the thickness of the circle again. Okay, perfect. No problem. We can do that. I'm going to do it for the smaller circle, which I missed it. So you go and select the select and the transform from the menu, which is the arrow right there. Double click on any object you have to select, and from object, you can go into fill and stroke. From there, you do have fill, stroke paint to select the color, and stroke style where we change the width. So here, we are going to set everything in our design today into 0.5 millimeters. After you are done with that, you need to hit enter in your keyboard. And that's changed now. And you can see both circles in my case are now at 5. I'll just show you if I do it in a different way. Let me do 2 here. Hit enter, and you can see the smaller circle is way bolder than the ellipse. So 0.5 is what we are after. This will allow you to visualize the design in the correct way and pretty much reflect the thickness of the laser beam cutting through the material. So I hope that clears it out. If not, please do raise your hand or ask questions. So play around with this. Let me just have a quick look into the chat and make sure there is nothing else there. Okay, the dimension of the smaller circle is 5 by 5. Great. And I will get back to the design. So Just to summarize the size, if we select the ellipse, that was 80 on the x-axis, 30 on the y. And if we are talking about the smaller circle, that is 5 by 5. So here we got all the dimensions, all the color set. If you are not with us at this stage, please do let us know in the chat, and one of my colleagues will be able to guide you through. Now, there is a small glitch with this design I made. Anybody can point anything out? I'll give you like some half minute or so to think about it. What's the problem here? Put it in the chat. This will also give time to others to catch up with us. What's the problem with this design? Now, this black line actually represents where the laser is going to move and cut my key fob. Something will end up like this. So what's the problem which I have in there? Well, you probably got it right. And this corner here, or this side of the circle, the cut is basically going to make this small hole like fully open. I can't get any keyring in there. This key fob will keep falling down. So this is not the best place for it. We'll need to select it by selecting the select tool, click once on the object, and then let's move it to the right. We will need to move it to allow some space, something around 3 millimeters. And this is normally about 5 to 6 tabs on your keyboard arrow to the right. So here I'm going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Another way to do that, you can enter a dimension in here. But remember, don't copy this from my screen, because this depends on really where you have drawn your circuit before, or the circle, sorry. So if you want, the easiest way is to hit that circle and move it with arrows 5 to 6 places to the right. And you should end up with something like this. Okay. So this is ready. The frame is ready right now. We need to get the picture, which is your design. Some of the tools which you can use is, of course, the text tool in here. So the text tool right on the left side bar, almost to the middle. Create and edit text objects. And you can use this to write anything. I'm going to write Heriot-Watt University. You can write your name, your initials, or anything else. Now here, if you can see on top, I got now a full toolbar relating to this text. I can play around with the fonts, and I got lots of fonts here. The size, and so on. So make sure that you put in the text you want. If you want text, I'll show you some other tricks next, but this is for your information. A text bar here on the left, a text tool, where you can click in any free space there and get it to where you want it. Let me see if there is any inquiries in the chat or so.
So
yeah, please.
For some reason, the chat is disabled for me, so I can't write anything on it.
That is weird. Because we have not set that, and I certainly get messages in it. Would you like to tell me how can I help you, or you prefer the chat function?
No, it's fine. Most of the questions I had were already answered, but I'm just
perfect. You know what to do if you want. You have got email from me regarding the shared folder. Just reply to that so we know your email address, and my colleagues will check it out if there is anything can be changed about the setting. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Okay, facing problem to change the color fill in the circle. Yeah, of course I can help you with that. And let's get back to that screen. So again, go to the select tool on the left. In Inkscape, if you want to make any change to any object, everything starts by selecting it. So we will use this select a lot. Right on the top left on the toolbar, select and click anything. Let's say I want to change the color in here. If we double click on it, or honestly just one click also will do, the object is selected you can go to Object and then Fill and Stroke. Everything related to filling the object and or the stroke, which is the surround of the object, is from here. The fill, this is the setting we used. We don't want any fill, so we want to set everything to 0. It depends on your default setting. Your default setting might give you a black circle like that, or it can be really any color. What we know, what we want is setting all these to 0, or getting the sidebars all the way to the left, yeah, to end up with just a frame. The same thing with the stroke, and we want that surround to be black. So R, G, and B, they will all stay at 0. Here, the fill is going to set at 100 to represent black, fully black. The thickness is from the stroke style to be 0.5 millimeter. Honestly speaking, and between us, do you think the color is going to change anything? What do you think? I'm designing here something to be cut in the laser cutter. The laser cutter doesn't really have options with color. It's basically have a gun of laser and a computer-controlled controller which move it around to make the cuts. So that laser beam, we can change for, of course, the intensity of it to make it decide if it's going to cut or engrave or half cut. We can change how fast the tool is moved, but certainly we can not color things out. But if you want your design to be colorful, not just like that white, I'm going to give you some tips at the end of this. So after we finalize the design frame and the hole in it, we cover the text in here. There are other drawing tools which you can try it out for yourself. Remember, you don't need to finalize your design with me. I'm here trying to get you through the design steps for you to be able to produce any design. You will have some time to finalize your design, upload it on time. So don't feel stressed here or under pressure. This is just to guide you through. So I have got the text here, but it's a little bit out of my frame, which is not correct because that will be outside the cut. I select it and I'm using the arrows now to move it out to wherever I want it. You can also use the align tools if you wish. Object, align and distribute, and you can align it, for example, to the middle if you want that to be perfect. But we'll need to select everything by Control A, and then you can see I align it to the middle. That will be left to you. Now here is the fun part where we are going to introduce already existing design which took hours and days to design them in here. And if you have downloaded the folder which I shared with you, you should end up with something like this, where you have all the ready designs, and I have arranged them for you here in a sort of categories. Airplanes, cars, some animals out there, guitars, pirates, Halloween, and other stuff. Well, I do teach automotive engineering here, so let me go check cars. It's good to check the files before you use them in Inkscape because you can have a preview of the files. So let's go to cars. And I'm going to go to motorcycle. And here in the JPEG, I will see preview of everything inside the DXF. If you go to the DXF, probably it will be in a format you cannot open unless you already have some DXF editing tool, which will be cool. Then you can see. If not, the JPEG will open with any preview, image preview. So let me preview that, double click on it. And this is cool. Let me see what's next. So this is one. This is even better. Okay. Helmet. Couple of pistons in here and the wheel. You know what? I really prefer this one. So this is the name. This is what you want to note. Motorcycle 1. I will need to use this file. So let me close this up and get back to Inkscape. Before I import the file, let me have a final look to the chart to make sure everybody has the same speed here. Yes, perfect. That is how the laser cutter works. Great. So here I'm going to import. So from File, Import. And here what I'll need to choose to import external files. So import. And I will need to navigate to wherever you have stored these. In my case, they are here, already examples, and I was in cars and motorcycle, and the one I liked was in motorcycle DXF1. Pretty long route, yeah? But I mean, it should be very easy to follow if you know exactly what you want. That's why starting with previewing the file is a good idea. You will need to download that files to do that, or if you want just one specific category, let's say, or theme, you can just go and download that. So this is what I want, and I'm going to click open in here. You can choose the option here to manual scale, so you don't need to change any of these. Keep them all as default. If there is any options here selected already for you, then select manual scale. Click OK. One more window will come up, and then you want to include that as editable object. So click the first one. If it's not already by default, click OK. Now that object is too big, so I can see a bit part of it only. What I need to do is zoom out. So you can either use the view and the zoom function and maybe select the drawing, or you can hit Control in your keyboard, use the scroll to zoom in and out. And this is the object I'm getting. I will need now to get it to a size which will fit. But you can see now, if I'm zooming and scaling it up and down, it's sort of messing up the object. So let me Control Z here and make sure this is selected, the locking of aspect ratio here. Right on top next to the width numbers. So you got X, Y of the location, and width and height. That should be locked. And you can see now aspect ratio is locked, so I can get the object really to the size I wanted. Scale it up and down. You can move it around using the select object to have it somewhere in here. In order to move and select, this sometimes gets tricky. You will need to get your mouse pointer to nearby the edges of the black line. See, if I click here, nothing happens. I'll need to get somewhere nearby the black line, and it is selected. Click and hold, you can move the object around. It's a bit big. Let me get it in, and here we go. You can see the sort of fading because that is the width of the line here is a little bit small. So let's change that. I will select this object. The same way we have done this before. We go Object, Fill and Stroke. And here we just need to change the stroke style. And you can see this is really thin, 0.017. Let's make it 0.5, just like our other objects. Hit enter, and I can get it in. You can double click on that, and you can see it has lots of small points. Now you can even hold and drag any of these points to make the design adjust to the way you want it, but that is going to be really taking time and might mess the design sometimes, so that is up to you if you want to use it. If you want to go out from any selection, select or hit escape in your keyboard. Okay, now you can see this object has multiple objects in it, which sometimes if you don't select everything together, might scale in and out in different ways, which doesn't make it look right. To avoid that, I'm going to import another file in here and show you how to avoid this. But let's see if anybody facing any issues with the import. Okay, if you are not able to access the folder, but you have got email from us, please reply to that email so we can sort it out for you. If you have not got email at all, then your email is not in our list, so please write it up in the chat. Unfortunately, this is the only way. If you have got the email and waiting for the verification, please do check your spam or junk folder. It depends on your mail server. The code might have been gone to there. So getting back to the design, and in here, just to brief you again about the download, after I open the OneDrive from the link, I have downloaded the last file which shows like a compressed, like a zipper on it compared to all the others. I have downloaded this, which makes life much faster because it downloads as one file. If you download the other individuals, it might take time. It's very small, 14 MB, so it will take probably a few seconds only to download. When you extract that, you will get folders arranged like that. And let me go to some Halloween stuff. Okay, and we got lots of things, but not very hot topic these days, but let's check that out. Okay, this is cool. And this is number 1. Okay, scary. Okay, I'll go with this one, I think. So that is part number 3. I'll close this up and go in here, and I'm going to import. So from File, Import, which is, by the way, is also here on the side toolbar, but it depends on your screen. The toolbar might be there or not. So the easiest way to go File, Import, and I'm going to navigate to the folder to find my Halloween path in here, DXF, very important. Here we need the DXF file. The JPEG was just to see it as a preview. A DXF is what we want, and path 3 is what I am after. Open, and again, manual scale, which will be by default most of the time. Okay, second window with the first selection again, and okay. And I got it here really big. While it is still selected, this is very important. We need to go to Object and group it. And we are doing that to avoid parts of it to scale up and down without the other parts. What does that mean? Let's take that green path for me. If I don't group it, it will be basically the exterior of it as one object, and the 2 eyes are separate 2 objects. So there are 3 objects in this selection at the moment. When I group it, or you can also use Control and G, it's going to be just one object. Whenever I select the eye, everything's selected. If I select the parameter, everything's selected. And lock the aspect ratio in here, so I can zoom it in and then get it to where I want it. I'm holding, click and hold to move it around. Hit Control on the keyboard and then scroll with your mouse to get it in. Okay, I think I'm going to remove that so I can delete some of the parts or move them away to end up with a better design. Good. So you can see sometimes you will start with the design. Let's say you put a text and name in a certain form, then you'll see some ready examples, bring them in, and then the design might still start to change. So that's absolutely fine. You can play around with things and move them around. You can also rotate these objects. So you can here, for example, you can rotate them in 90 degrees and so on. So you can play around with all these settings from your object menu. There's lots of settings, and in here, let me get back in case you have missed that at the early beginning. Let me delete this. I think I have grouped these 2 items together at the moment, which I can ungroup them and then just select a bit which I don't want. Okay, Let's watch the chat quickly, see if anybody having issues. Yeah, you can use on your design if it's a DXF file. If you are importing it as an image, the results are not guaranteed because different images, the machine will read them in different ways. Ideally, you want something which is made for laser cutter. These are either DXF files or grayscale images done in a specific way. So if you are doing that route, please make sure it's compatible. Otherwise, the result might not look the way you want it. So I'm going to just do this one last time very quickly. I'm deleting everything. You can use the text tool here on the left. Click once on it and write the text. And then you can change the font to whatever font you want and size and so on. To import a file, you go to File, Import, and then navigate through the collection of ready-made files which we have shared with you, and then make sure that you select a DXF file. And then go with the default setting or the first selection on the next two windows, 1 and 2. It will be big in size, that's fine. We can first group it to avoid the object getting messed up. And then we will need to scale it down. Now you can see this is barely can be seen because of the thickness. And we will come to that, but let's just scale it down. Okay, here is my object. Okay, here is my object. Move it up to where I want it. And while the object is selected, you barely can see it, I'm sure. You go to Object and Fill and Stroke. Let's change it to black, basically, and change the thickness to 0.5. And then you can see here, I'm getting that color to black. And this is from the stroke. Okay. And here we go. So by now, you have implemented your design, changed it the way you want. It's time to make sure this can be actually sent to the laser cutter. So I'll give you a minute here just to make sure nobody is facing issues at this stage. Again, to remind you, you don't need to finalize your design now. You should be able to use the software by now, and you will have time to finalize your design, select other design, try different things before you finalize it and upload it. So if you do have any questions until this stage, please let us know. Just a second, guys, stay with me. Okay, so there is one student who's facing issues with accessing the ready examples. Don't worry about that. We'll make sure that is sorted for you. Meanwhile, my colleague will send you an email with a couple of designs in DXF format, so you can try it up until you get the full folder. Perfect. So now we have the design ready. We need to make sure this is good for manufacture. Before you do anything, and it's always good to save your work. So save. If this is the first time you are saving, you will need to locate it and locate a place for it and save it. At this stage, it's fine. Just save it with the default format, which is Inkscape svg.svg. Don't change anything there. This is your work, the way you made it, and you can always access it. This is very important because anything you will do next, if it changes the file and you lose it, you might have to repeat everything from beginning. So save it And that is in a format for Inkscape, but that is not the format a laser cutter will basically process. A laser cutter will require a path, and that path normally given in a DXF format. However, before we save it as a DXF format, we need to change some objects like the text here to a path, because right now it's basically a text, and I can come in and edit that text. So we will need to select everything by Control A, and then from object, path in this case, and select object to path. So that is going to change any object selected to path. Click once on it, and now it's changed to path. Now, from experience, some of these objects, after you change them to a path, it might change or divide into multiple objects, which still need to be changed to path. So do this twice just for safety. Control A, in my case, I have done Control I to select all, or hold in your mouse and cover everything. You should see everything selected, so you can see the dash line around each of my objects. I got 4 of them: the big ellipse, the small circle, the text, and the design. Go to path and object to path. Perfect. Now this is ready, and you can see if I select the text again, that is now actually divided into different objects, which you can play around with them, and it's not text anymore. Double click on any of these objects. You can actually rotate it a bit if you want. You can copy using Control C, paste if you want to add more of one object. Just like any tool, you can mirror these using the object here, and you can flip horizontal. So I think you can see where I'm going here. So feel free to play around with all this, and I'm sure you will end up with something really cool. The last bit of it is to save it in a format which we can process it for you. So you go to File, Save As. And by the way, if you are missing any of these instructions, they are there in the printed instruction, which is at the end of the schedule. There are 2 pages with instructions. These information will be there. Also, they are available on the video, the recorded video, which is also available in the instruction page, which I'll show you next. Save As. And here we want to make it in a format to work with our laser cutter. And as I mentioned earlier, that is going to be DXF. Here you can save in 2 different versions, and what we need is R14. So make sure that you are going to save it in DXF R14 in here. Again, you don't need to remember all this. It's there in the instructions whenever you reach the save step. So I'm going to save it here, and you will get some options. Keep everything ticked off. Nothing. We don't want any ticks here. Okay. And that's it. You have got your design ready. Now with this DXF file ready, you do have 2 files of your design. Please make sure you upload both files to the design uploads, because we will need to make sure if there is something missing from the ADX, we can at least access your design and fix it up. So both files, the SVG and the DXF, we want them on the uploads, and rename them to your email address without the @ and the organization. So let's say my email is Mohammed@heriotwatt.ac.uk. I will name the file as Mohammed. Well, this is not the best example because probably there are many others, but probably your email address will be unique. So your email address before the @ use it as a name for the file. So we can link each file to each email, so we can make sure we can get you the file details, and of course the FOB, because we are going to manufacture all these, and we are going to run live feed later today to show some of these being cut. If you are lucky, you'll watch yours being cut, but we will make sure each one of you get the keychain after that. So by now, I have finished most of the things related to design and using Inkscape, saving the files, and you should be able to upload them. To upload them, you go to the OneDrive again, and this is the folder you got. One which has ready design, which we was playing around with, and this is the design uploads. So I want you to get your design uploads there as 2 files for each one of you, named both the same name, which is the first part of your email before the in both SVG and DXF R14 format, so we can process it. Just to show you what I was talking about on the instructions, so this is the instructions shared with you. The preparation was merely to install the software, which you should have been. This is some more instruction into how to design. This is a video on YouTube, which you can watch it if you missed anything which I have said. And then next will be all the different instructions. And the most important, the bit is where you will have to save this as DXF R14. So make sure that is saved DXF R14 for us, and also upload the SVG so we can work with both. Okay, great. So what we are going to do next after we receive your files, we are going to sort of change the setting to make sure whatever inside, in this case, these 3 objects are going to be engraved to end up with something like this one, if you can see my camera. So the parameter and the hole will be cut out, and the object inside, which happens to be also 3 objects here, is going to be engraved, which gives you a nice finish. We are going to do it on a clear acrylic, just like this. Later, you can use any sort of coloring ink to color them up separately or all of them to end up with very cool and colorful design of your own. So play around with the software, try different things. Let us know if you face any issues. We are going to have a session where you can drop in, ask questions, or even give us control of your Inkscape to help you figure things out. You can also drop us messages, and we will be happy to help. So here, I think it's time to ask if there is any question. You are most welcome. So we got a question after saving the design. How do you save it as DXF and SVG file to upload? Very good question and really important at this stage. So I'll do this again. I have finished the design. I'm going to File, Save As. And the default normally is SVG. Let me make a new folder here. Heriot-Watt University in my case. Double click, and here is SVG, save. This is SVG. I need to save it again, save as, and in here I'm going to do it as DXF R14. In the same folder, save. Don't use any of these, just click OK, and it's saved. Let me go check it out. So this is my folder, HWU, and here I got both in DXF and in SVG. And we want both of them changed to your, or renamed to your email address before the the initial part of your email address. And I hope this cleared it out. Okay, you are most welcome. Perfect. So now, please stay tuned. You can actually cut, but from experience, cutting smaller objects within the keychain is going to end up really small, and sometimes will make it weak, which will break easily. So I'm going to probably stop sharing this so you can see me in a bit full screen. Hi again. So this is what we are after. Here are some examples, and if you have seen the YouTube feed, you should have seen me bending one of these. So you can cut, yes, but it sometimes results in very small cut, which is barely seen, and sometimes we'll end up with making the key fob really weak, which kind of breaks. So that is something we have tried before. It didn't work well. This is sort of, let's say, the best way we end up most of the time. And here is an example of all this. Now you can see this, the sides are a little bit fading, but with a little bit of a cleaning, polishing up with, like, let's say, toothpaste, because this fading is from the heat of the laser engraving. So a little bit of toothpaste, polish it up, then color it with some ink, and you are really good to go. So I can see now the chat really clearly. If you have anything, when I open my DXF file, there is nothing on it. I'm not sure how you are opening it. Do you mean like you are importing it? File, import, and then you are going to your DXF file, or what? Because this is what I'm doing with mine. And it is certainly working. So this is the DXF file, which I just made. So make sure you are importing it. In general, you don't need to worry about that if you saved it the right way. Oh, you was not seeing actually my screen. So let me just do that again. This is what I was talking about, guys. Okay. Yeah, you should see my screen now. So this is my design, and I'm going to just import my DXF, which I just saved. So File, Import, and this is the one I just saved. Open, and click double OK, and here we go. It's there, just a little bit big. So it should work if you have saved it following the instructions we discussed. If not, don't worry about it. That's why we are asking for both files. So in case something goes wrong with one of them, we always have the other one. Great. Any other questions? Feel free to switch on your mic, ask the question if you want, raise your hand, or write it in the box. Perfect. It will always work. You know, this is engineering, is about problem solving. So I'm glad that I'm only getting really positive messages that things are clearing out and working. So I think we are going to enjoy the manufacturing session today, where you will get to see some of these being manufactured and hopefully your very own. If not, you will certainly get the real one. Make sure you save your file so you can always refer to it and remember how you have came up from this from scratch.
So?
Yes?
I still can't access the folder, and I'm not seeing the code.
No problem. I'm going to sort out the folder for you right after I just close this session.
Okay.
I think you have already sent email, right?
Yep.
Because one of my colleagues was mentioning that. So I'll make sure that I will get it sorted for you. If not, I'll probably get you directly through a Teams call to finish it up. Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
No problem.
If the code doesn't work, then I'm pretty sure it's sent to your spam email. So just check that.
I checked my spam email and like I didn't find it, so I'm not sure what I'm supposed to be doing.
No problem. We'll find a way around it. Probably I can send you as a touch, or we'll upload it to another place. So there is always to fix these up. We got time. Don't worry.
When I import my finished DXF file back into Inkscape, it doesn't show my text, and also the outer ring. There's like a double, another version of it there.
Okay, so probably you need to change the object to path, and let me show you that and show others as well. That is very important step to ensure that the design is actually changed to a path for the tool. I'm deleting this. So after I have finished all my design, make sure to select all using Control A, or basically hold and drag your mouse pointer from path, go to object to path. And as I mentioned, from experience, sometimes you will need to do it twice because there are objects inside the object. So when they change it to path in the first time, some objects, they don't. Have you done that?
Yeah, I did it now.
Is it working?
I need to open it up to check.
No problem, check it out. That's why we have the afternoon session where you drop in. For any such cases, we, three of us actually, will be available to support you with all that, and case by case, because it's expected some of you to face issues with the software, with the downloads, or with other things. Yeah, please, if you are ready and you are happy with it, do upload it to design upload, and that's absolutely fine. The deadline is 3:30 p.m. because then we will start the manufacture. So if it's not there by then, we will have to manufacture without it. So make sure you put it in, rename it into your first part of your email address so we can track the file and track you to hand you over the keychain. Any last comments, questions here? Pretty quiet. I will take that as no. We are also approaching the end of the session, which I think went really good in time, and we have tried different things. Play around with the software, check the different examples, come up with something you really like, something unique, bring the engineer out and enjoy it. So thank you very much for joining us for this session today. I have really enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to see the designs, manufacture them, and then hand it over to you guys. So stay safe, and we'll wait for your files. And thank you. Have a good one. Bye.